Hello and welcome to Logical Operations webinar, What's New in Python Training. We are going to give everyone a few minutes to get logged into the event and then we'll get started. So thanks for joining us. Just sit tight and we'll be right with you. We're going to give it just another minute, then we'll kick it off. All right, I think we can get started. Again, welcome to Logical Operations webinar today, What's New in Python Training. Thank you for joining us. My name is Diana Valenti and I am here with my co-host Bob Carver. So today we're going to cover the latest in Python training, including updated courses that we've launched over the last year. And first I will begin by sharing a little background about myself. I am a product category manager at Logical Operations, where we connect training providers and students to high impact instructor-led training materials that help them reach their respective goals. And I am a data science enthusiast, and I've been with the company for a few months now. And I'd like to hand it off to my co-host, Bob Carver, to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bob Carver. I have a consultancy out here on the left coast, out here in Portland, Oregon, Fulcrum Forge. And we have been around for a long time doing content and technology services consulting. And we have really migrated towards data science consulting, data analysis, visualization, data science in the last few years, as it has become a huge thing for large and medium and small businesses. And we typically provide training content, data analysis, visualization services, content services. And one of the great partnerships we've had is with Logical Operations. We've authored a number of courses for them, many of them on data science, on Tableau, on Python, on Power BI, things like that, data analysis and visualization with Excel as well. So we have a lot of experience at both presenting, delivering training, and consulting on this. And we're really enthusiastic about Python as well. So today, we're going to talk about what Python is, why you should think about selling Python training, why Python is so popular, and then we're going to shift gears and talk about this new course, this course we've revised, what's new about it, how we approach the redesign, because we wrote it, myself and my business partner, Peter Lammers, what students will learn in that course, and then we're going to talk about what training centers are going to want to know, keys for selling Python, the prospective student matrix, and how to get started if you want to deliver Python training. And we'll take some questions. And we have Jessica monitoring the questions. And so put your questions in the chat, and then we'll address them at the end of the session. All right, so I'm going to start right off here. What is Python? Python is a high-level programming language. It's it's a near English language, some people call it. It's easy to read and understand. It's simple to implement. It makes sort of common sense as you start using it, how it works. It's open source. Meaning it's free and easy to use, as are many of the libraries. And it can be used extensively for research projects, commercial applications, everything. There are also fee-based applications around Python. We'll talk about some of those later. As there is in any sort of ecosystem. But Python, you can get started, get into it for free. And that is a big selling point of it. It's become a top software development language, especially for data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and web development. So web development came first in that mix, but with the advent of big data and the fact that people are now more and more starting to use and understand the benefits of data analysis of that big data and applying machine learning and AI to actually getting value from it, Python has skyrocketed. It's Python interest in Python and Python use has skyrocketed. So let's talk about that a little bit and why to sell Python courses. Python is one of the fastest growing languages. You know, year on year, it's been multiple hundreds of percents since 2012, and is used by a number of people. And I know what training centers tend to think. Developers don't take a lot of training. They're not the best customers for training companies. They like to read stuff. They like to view samples. They'd like to get into sample code. That is true. That has not changed. What's different about Python is Python appeals to a lot of people who aren't career coders, who aren't dedicated developers. For these people, they have other job functions. They are data scientists or data analysts. They are product managers. They're financial advisors. They're data journalists or developers. And they see Python as a tool to help them do custom things that other tools can't do for them. And so that means Python is a gateway to furthering their career, helping them reach new levels in their career growth, and helping them get their jobs done. So for data science, it's various parts of the data science fields because Python really shines in helping implement machine learning and AI and applying AI to data science projects. Project managers use it for report automation, things like that, and providing analysis of the data, especially if you're working with big data. That's where this programmatic language comes into play, is because you have a lot of data to analyze, and sometimes that's very difficult to do, even with really robust software like Tableau. Financial advisors use it to analyze patterns in stocks, in trades, in other financial activities, and try to find opportunities there and try to report things to their customers. Data journalists use it to discover and report stories. And what do we mean a data journalist? If you look, there's a lot more data-centric articles out there. A couple of them I can think of, we share on our social accounts a lot. The New York Times put out a visualization about how particulate matter moves around an aircraft hull, talking about COVID, air travel in the time of COVID. Another one recently was a data visualization showing population changes in the States and the results of the direct impact on the census and the gain and loss of house seats. So that's an idea of what a data journalist does. And of course, developers, this is a very easy to learn app. It's plugged into a lot of all the web application services. So if you're going to put something online, which is sort of a natural outcome of developing a database solution, Python's an excellent tool for doing that, for developing a web app out of it. So why sell Python courses? These are the people that really it appeals to. We talked about software engineers, web developers, data scientists, and in the data science field, analysts, data modeler, things like that. So these are the people that it appeals to. Indeed, recently was showing over 100,000 job postings with Python as a desired skill. And so that's important to remember and to take note of that as a desired skill. That's one thing. If you're in the job hunt, that will set you apart, either in your current job or when you're looking for a new job. If you're looking to raise your salary, to further your career, that is usually a good thing for training centers because it's career growth. It's meaningful beyond just saying, I've got a certificate or I took a class. It's very meaningful. So what makes Python so popular? Let's take a step back here. I've told you it's popular. I told you it's growing. Why is it growing? What's so good about it? Again, as I stated earlier, it's a near English language. It's very simple and easy to use. As far as programming languages go, right? You're going to be programming. It's going to take it's going to have a learning curve. But as far as programming languages go, it's not C++. It's easy to use. It's very versatile. It can be used for web apps. You can write desktop apps. You can write scripts with it to do simple automation, and that's one of its key uses. And so it's very fast, it's efficient, it's reliable. There is a huge support community. So you can go online to forums and get your questions answered. You can find out, okay, I have these 3 libraries that have stuff that do what I'm trying to do. Which one is best for my solution? You can post that, get that answered. You can also get lots of code samples to leverage to start off with. The first step to being a developer is to be a thief. So, steal first and ask questions later, get code that works, and then modify it to meet exactly what you need. It has strong corporate and open source support. There's tons of of companies that use it and they push for it and they add to it. There's also lots of open source content out there. There's over 147,000 libraries out there. One thing we talk about data science a lot. There's R for data science, which is a statistical analysis platform that has some strengths over Python. But one thing about Python, what makes Python great for statistical analysis and data science, is it really plugged all. It just took a couple of years to get a ton of libraries out there for machine learning and AI, and that's something Argus doesn't do. Another thing that's driving this, and we've been talking about all through this webinar, big data, cloud AI, and machine learning friendly. Those are huge concepts. The fact that we have this data, we need to analyze it, and now we can get value from it. And in many cases, the value we're getting from it is being supplied by AI because it's got to go find out what the trends are. It's got to go discover what's in this data that's useful to us. And one of the key things, like I said, about R, where other tools fall short, Python tends to excel. Obviously, it's a programming language, so you have to get it there as a programmer, as a coder. But again, that mature and supportive community can help you because other people are doing the same thing. Again, it's very good for automating tasks, like I mentioned. And one thing about it is it's so popular, its popularity is making it more popular. Who uses it? Data science uses it. Well, if I'm going in that field, well, I probably should learn Python. If it's used for web apps, well, okay, it's pretty easy to learn. It's also used in these other areas, so maybe I should learn Python. Its popularity is driving some of its own growth. And so the many applications: artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and visualizations, and automation. And so I want just a couple of these things. So web development's out of here. That was the first reason for using Python. Web development, automation were the first real reasons Python became popular. Artificial intelligence, machine learning has come along recently in the last 3 or 4 years, and it's a huge reason for Python growth. Big data, analyzing big data or scraping data off the web, another huge thing. Visualizations, are you going to write? So if I have Tableau, am I going to stop using Tableau and start using Python? No, you're going to use a range of tools. If you have a data set that's clean and you know what you want to present, Tableau can take and make a wonderful presentation out of that. And that's a great tool for doing that. Cleaning that data, you can do some things in Tableau, but there's certain types of data Python is going to be much better at getting you a data set that's useful. Also, again, it's going to hook into that artificial intelligence. And if you want to write a truly custom presentation that is interactive on a website, that's going to be Python doing that for you. If you want next level that thing. And just again, to kind of put a fine point on it, Python's growth, if you look at it from 2012 to 2018, Python is just huge growth. And O'Reilly analyzed this data and published it, and it's just, and there's other information about this out there. You can look it up. It just gives you an idea visually of where Python's going. Among all languages, Python was the most popular to learn, and interest rising by 27% over the previous year. Again, it's got some AI and machine learning libraries out there that are very popular, scikit-learn and PyTorch. And the usage of those libraries is increasing. So it just tells you that Python and Python for artificial intelligence, machine learning is very popular. And again, data science is one of the big drivers. So analyzing data, there's fee-based platforms built around that. Anaconda is one where you get Python and a bunch of other tools with it built in, and they're all managed in versions for you. And it's fee-based for organizations that do this for a living. Data analysis visualization is huge. InfoWorld said that 2021 is the year in which data science will become an enterprise-wide capability. It will impact every line of business. And I just read an article that we're actually sharing on one of our sites this week, our channels this week, about data science is now kind of the thing you need to add to sort of any job role. Sales, marketing, project management, anything where people are working with data, where there's data about what you're doing. People want you to be able to analyze that and provide salient facts and insights to help you do it better. All right, so that's all about Python and why it's popular. Let's take a breath, step back, and talk about this course that we had. So this course has been out for a while. The previous version was. It was centered around a previous version of Python. There's been a lot of changes in Python. The fundamentals haven't changed, but a lot of the capabilities and all the under hood stuff have changed. There's new capabilities built in. And it's a different world today with AI and artificial intelligence. And so, the new course reflects changes through Python version 3.9. And the improvements, it's faster. There's lots of internal changes. We're not going to go into those. That's sort of nuts and bolts about Python. There's 2 article links here, which you can check out that can go into the features of Python 3.9. The goal is to keep the content hot and fresh and relevant to what's going on in the world today. So again, myself and my business partner, Peter Lammers, worked on this course redesign, and we wanted to focus on the following things, and we did focus on the following things. We wanted to create a very solid foundation for object-oriented design. Object-oriented design is an approach to programming where you break down each thing the program is going to do into its own separate discrete item, an object. And that's great if you have large, complex applications. Even, I would say, even medium-sized applications. So we provide development services. We have developers on staff, so we know about this. And we know that this is a little bit of a hurdle going from someone who's just writing some code for automation. Object-oriented design is the next level in programming. And it takes a little bit of understanding about how that works generally, conceptually, and then you have to learn the nuts and bolts of whatever language you're learning. But if you're going to work on something that's larger, this is huge, because then you have multiple people can work on different segments of this application and put them together and have them work together. And then they can, it makes publishing easier, writing them easier, making them work together, the integration piece easier, the whole thing. But it is a little bit conceptually of a step above, and it's also something that can set them apart. The previous course had a segment on multi-threaded apps, and multi-threads are if you have a processor that can handle multiple threads, as most processors can. You can make your app run more efficiently if you have multiple threads being multiple different tasks being assigned to multiple different threads. We didn't feel that was appropriate for this course. Multi-threaded programming is not a course for beginners. Multi-threaded programming is for full-time developers that are working on very large apps. And so a lot of the people who are going to be taking this, we feel, are not going to be focusing on multi-threaded apps, and this course didn't have the time to give it the treatment it needed to deal with race conditions when 2 threads are competing at the processor level, things like that. Again, we have developers who've done that. This course is for learners who see Python as a tool and want to advance their skills. Not necessarily beginners. This is an advanced course we rewrote. There's a beginning course as well, but for learners who see Python as a tool and want to learn Python in that way for the realm of enhancing their career. Now I've got a frog in my throat. I'm going to take a little drink real quick. We also wanted to add start to finish building out a web service, because that's another thing that's commonly done with Python, is using it to build out a web service. So we did that with security. It's a light treatment of security because the course isn't that long. You could spend a week securing a web app. But we did the whole thing in this course, and we felt that was really important, because that is often when you take an app that is for internal access, for internal use, or for public use, how are people going to access it? Usually it's going to, you're not going to distribute to people who install on a desktop. You can do that with Python, but more frequently, they're going to build a web app out of it. And so we wanted to explain how to do that and walk them through it in this course, and we do. We also add some data analysis and visualization to show how Python can be used for that, so they can see that, the strengths Python has in that area. And in the previous course, there was a segment on test-driven development, which is a good approach to developing applications where testing is built into the coding approach of the coding team. It is also an enterprise level approach that not necessarily going to apply to every developer. So again, thinking about the audience we're trying to apply to with this course, we wanted to move more to unit testing, which is something every developer should do and every developer typically does. If they don't, they should be smacked. So we wanted to move away from that sort of enterprise level discussion about test-driven development and move to more of the small, medium team unit testing as a foundation for use for coding in any environment. So top, new versus old. What are the top things that we did in this course? Taking a step back here, it takes the approach of introducing object-oriented programming and getting all that conceptual foundation built first correctly before jumping into just coding it. That was an issue I had with the previous course specifically. It changes the database use from SQLite to MySQL. We see a lot of MySQL usage out there. and it's very similar because it's both using SQL statements, but it lets people, know that there's nothing to fear from a MySQL database. It also gives coders a chance to, people who are using this, a chance to say, hey, SQL versus MySQL. I know I've talked to either, and I've, actually had some experience with MySQL. It reflects the current technology approach to graphic design data visualization because that's included in there. It gets rid of that multi-threaded coding topic, and it adds that topic on creating a securing web service enabled app. And we get to use it for data science. And so those are the top things that we feel are new and special about this course. Some keys to selling Python. Let's talk about that. What are 3 interesting things? I'm thinking about, if you're going to try to say to people, why should I take this course? If you're approaching it from the perspective of a training center, I think that object-oriented approach is a huge one because this is an advanced level Python course. That is something that is going to be a blocker for many people moving up in their programmatic skills. And it's not just for writing large apps. Any app that does more than one thing can benefit from an object-oriented approach. And so if they're building out a solution where I want to fetch data and then have some process run out to break out some data I need and then build a report on it, that's 3 separate tasks. And that application, if you're a program manager, if you're using a financial institution, you're using Python as a tool, it still benefits from having an object-oriented design applied to that application. So that is something that can really up-level a person's skills. Again, building out a full web service, that's cool, right? Hey, you want to put your data on the web so people can see it or interact with it. This is a good primer for doing just that because you start and you complete doing that as part of this course. And we also do some data visualization cleaning. So we really show why Python is strong in the data, a strong fit for data scientists. And you get to see and do some of those things in this course. So those are 3 very key selling points. If I were talking to people why they should take this course, I would mention that. This is 3 things you do in this course. They're going to up level your career and your skill set as part of Python. So who is going to buy this course? Who's going to see this course? So data analysts and data visualization engineers. Data visualization engineer is a new job title that's out there that's pretty popular for people who are supposed to make visualizations. This is going to help their career growth. Having Python skills, being able to step in and take a data set that is dirty, it needs to be cleaned, it needs to be formatted so that it can be worked with. Python is huge for that. And then that can be visualized on the fly, and final reports can be made in some other tool or through Python, or you can make those really robust interactive reports. For data scientists, this is a must-have. Python, you need to use tools. You're probably going to use multiple tools. You're probably going to use R. You're probably going to use Python or some other coding language. It's sort of like a standard requirement now. Web developers, for building all sorts of web apps or desktop apps, it's a great tool for that. Product managers can use it for automation. They also use it to crunch data and report data. And so that's, again, pretty huge and a career differentiating thing there. If they can say, I can jump into Python and I can start automating some stuff, automating some reporting, or automating some add some data to those reports. That data journalist field that I talked about, that's growing. People want to see, people want to see data and want to see things visualized for them. And financial managers, again, another, they work with huge amounts of data, and being able to work with it programmatically is huge. And the thing is, any job role that involves working with data is going to benefit from this. And one thing we're doing at Fulcrum Forge is we're targeting our discussions with individual teams like sales and marketing teams that can benefit from data analysis. They don't necessarily know it yet, but it's going to be coming. It's going to be part of skills. I remember Indeed had all those job postings where some Python experience is preferred. So that's huge. Also, for students who've taken other courses that Logical Operations offers, like the Excel, data analysis and visualization with Excel, Power BI, and Tableau, Python is the next level up from that. So it can do things those tools can't do. And like I said, most data scientists, people working with data, they can use those tools in many instances, and those tools are great in many instances. If you hit the wall with any of those tools and can't do something you need to do, typically around cleaning data or presenting it in some way, or publishing on the web, Python or applying machine learning or artificial intelligence to it, that's where Python will do it for you. So how do you get started? How do you get started offering these things? What your trainers have to do? Well, you need to get into it and use Python. Python is something you just need to do. There's a ton of books out there. It typically takes 6 months to get into it a little bit, and then a year, and just continue practice to doing it. You can, leverage the large community, hone your skills. PyCharm IDE is free. Jupyter Notebook is free. You can download all this stuff and you can get lots of samples. If someone's going to take this on, my advice to you is to pick a couple of good books and pick a project that you want to do. That's going to help you a lot more. So what do you want to do with Python? Do you want to build a web service? Do you want to analyze some data? Do you want to clean some data? Taking these courses offered by Logical Operations would give you a good primer to that. But if you really want to keep going on it, you need to pick something you want to do with Python and then do it, because that's why other people in this that we're trying to target are going to do it. It's like, I got to do my job and the tools I have aren't working. I need something custom. So I'm going to use Python to build it. Approach it from that perspective. Take some data or take something you want to work with and do something with it in Python. And that's going to teach you more about Python than anything else. One thing I will say is there's one book there on the left, Python the Hard Way. That literally is Python the Hard Way. It just basically gives you basically a list of the things you should know and then says, go build it. So you'll definitely know Python if you get through that book. You also may throw that book out the window. So I'm wondering, if you're thinking about it, just know that book in particular is what it says it is. So getting started, I'm going to turn this over to Diana. I think this is Diana. I'll handle this slide. We have an introduction to programming Python. We have advanced programming techniques with Python. That's the one we just updated. There are other data science courses with Python as well. Diana, back over to you.
Sure. Thanks, Bob. Awesome stuff. Thank you for sharing everything about the Python opportunity with us. So like you said, we've got the instructor guides, we have the student guides, the instructor prep, and then of course, doing all those things, accessing those materials from our website, adding those to your library of tools. That will help you get prepared to train on Python. It'll help your trainers get prepared to train on Python. And then marketing to your student matrix. Bob covered the student matrix a bit, but making sure you're getting the course out there and marketed to the right people through your marketing tactics, through SEO, for any other advertising activities that you typically do, and making sure that they're aware it's out there and what the benefit is to them. So that is the best way to get started, by doing those things to make sure people are aware that this is the latest in Python training, and there's a lot of value in taking these trainings to advance their careers. And so that all being said, we have a special announcement for everyone that's attended the webinar today. We are offering, I'm sorry. Thank you, Bob. Before I get to your questions, I did want to let you know that we are offering for a limited time 50% off these materials through the end of May with code Python50. And this is for the student digital courseware for intro to programming with Python and the advanced programming techniques with Python. Again, the digital version for students, it's those course numbers, and we will be following up post webinar with this information as well. So don't worry if you can't write it down at the moment, we'll follow up with this information to your email. So just wanted to let you know that you have early access to this exciting offer for a limited time to help you get you started. Since we are on the topic of getting started and what courseware you need. So just to get you excited about that, this is what we're offering for the month of May. And at this point, we will now take any questions you have. Feel free to enter them into the chat or the Q&A box. We'll give you a minute to do that. I have one to start us off, Bob. So how long does it take for an instructor to get up to speed to teach these courses?
I think an instructor could do it in 6 months. Obviously, the more you work with Python, the better. I would say if you're going to try to do it in 6 months, you should be pretty familiar with it. Now, if you have other programming languages that you know, then it's going to make that time go more quickly because you're going to understand some of those concepts.
Okay, great. Now, another question that has trickled in, is this more development or more job task focused? This type of training, is it more development or more job task focused?
So I think I would say, I think it's the answer to that is development, but it's development around specific job tasks. And I'm going to kind of split the difference there in that answer, because we're always doing something with it. We're building a web service, so we're taking an app and publishing it so people can access it on the web. We're taking data and analyzing it and cleaning it and then making some graphs out of it. So it is development with a purpose. We're not sort of training you to go. So with a task-based scenario wrapped around it, we're not training you to go be a part of a development team. We're training you to use Python to get specific tasks done.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I don't see any other questions at this time, but of course, if you end up thinking of something you didn't ask today, you can always feel free to reach out to us. And I think we have our contact information on the next slide.
I'm going.
So if you have questions, if you need something, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We're happy to answer them. And again, thank you for attending today, everyone. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge on the Python training opportunity and the everything that it could do to help you build your training business, and just all the possibilities for training businesses to train on this. So with that, I think we will conclude our session today, but one last chance, if you want to write that promo code down, Python 50, to get 50% off these student edition titles. And it's not just for one of them. If you wanted to buy multiple, it would be 50% off of each of those. So thanks everyone for attending, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your, oh, I see one question that might have popped up. Oh, that's just a thank you. Well, thank you for attending, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day.
Thanks, everybody.